Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Empowering Process podcast. Today we have Karin, Karin Edgett. And what is she? She is a visionary artist. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about, who knows, all kinds of things, but it's going to be about nature. It's going to be about art. It's going to be about enlightenment. It's going to be about creativity. Come join me as I hold this remarkable conversation with this remarkable woman. Welcome, Karin. Hello, Karin. Welcome.
Hi, Gail. Welcome. Um, Welcome to you. Thank you for having me here. I hesitate a little bit when I say Gail because I have so many Gail friends that I'm like thinking in my head, wait, is that right that I called her Gail?
Yes,
Got
you
one
can call
more.
me anything. I'll answer to it.
Just don't forget to call you, right?
Right? Just don't forget to call me. That's cool. So, I introduced you as an artistic intuitive, if you will,
Sure.
that you communicate spiritually through your drawings.
Hmm.
I have a friend who does something similar, but not quite the same as yours. I mean, what you have in the background is phenomenal, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. She actually will talk to you and then just use colors and shapes based on the conversation that's going on
Oh,
and what she's feeling at the time. So it's a little bit different.
yeah.
Um,
That's a nice thing about us artists. We're never the same.
but it shouldn't be,
Our specialty is copying others, and then we could seem the same, but we're still not.
right? Right? No, absolutely not. We are all unique individuals with our own frequency, if you will. There's no, like the saying, every snowflake is different.
Yep.
Absolutely. We're still snowflakes, but we are all different. And therefore we express ourselves and we show up in our own unique way. And the fact that you have found your uniqueness is phenomenal.
Oh,
Phenomenal. So congratulations.
thank you. It's a lot of fun to finally feel like you're free to be yourself or freer to be yourself, after years of kind of fitting into molds and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
can't wait to see
Yeah.
the younger generations because they're just like free to be themselves earlier in life and earlier in life, and it's kind of fun.
It is kind of fun. It is fun watching the evolution of humanity. And so let's talk a little bit about how you discovered and started to own this gift.
Um, well, it's interesting because I think, like most people, I forgot I had it for many years, and I tried really hard to do things differently. But I always knew as a creative, I was in the advertising field for a long time, and I always knew there was like some kind of magic that came forward to really hit the message on the head, or pull the information out. And I always liked the idea of words and visuals coming together and kind of not just explaining something, but actually explaining an emotion or a feeling. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's one thing to get a whole like description of some mechanical something or other, but how do you describe a shift in consciousness or, the sensation you're going to feel um, when you get to where you want to be? You don't always know, it's like, oh, that's really exciting. And
Or how to express it using our words,
yeah,
right? So for me, use is words are my medium. And I find that the words that I used 2 years ago to communicate what I wanted people to understand no longer serve me.
yes, because they served you and they're for others now, or you can let them go into the ether.
Yes,
It's
yes,
really amazing. It's interesting as an artist because I did my advertising. I was an artist before that. I got a fine arts degree and then I did my advertising piece. And then as I was also getting very ill. I had a lot of physical problems and nothing was coming together. And someone sent me to a masseuse, and a masseuse said, listen to me talk. They're like, oh, your body's all messed up. I'm like, no, no, just work on my leg. That's the thing that's really broken right now. Because the second I walk out of here, everything else that you did is going to come right back. And I didn't understand why. And I felt like I was allergic to everything. Um, and the masseuse got a flyer on her car. She said, well, if you think you're allergic to everything, maybe you should call this guy. And so I called that guy, and he was working with kinesiology to help diagnose muscle testing to diagnose what was wrong. And then he knew what to do to make it right. There was a formula that another person had intuited somewhere along the way and he stepped me on this road of like, he's like, yeah, you're right. You're allergic to everything. And there's a lot of things we can do to fix it and get rid of these allergies so you can actually go on and live on this earth again. And it was all done in this sort of quasi acupressure, acupuncture, kinesiology, nutrition arena. And I never looked back. I mean, allopathic medicine had never done anything for me. And a couple times I'd go back, get blood tests, and they'd say, "Oh, you haven't been here in years." And I'm like, "Well, I came for two reasons: one to get scolded, and the other one to just check up, because they say you're supposed to do that." I didn't come here for any other reason. So now that you've scolded me, just get on with the checkup. But the truth is it's just been a real great journey for me to leave that behind. And I'm always like perplexed when my friends come back from the doctor and I'm like they ask me to read the reports because I've kind of gotten a huge body of knowledge on wellness and now I'm like, well, they're saying we think it is this. I mean, aren't you like frustrated with words like that? Like the route I go, they're like, this is what it is. This is what you should do. And it just seems like, and then it works. And you're just like, but anyway, it's everybody to their own path. But that forced me, the illnesses forced me to get back into a more connected, intuitive, spiritual, metaphysical world. And it was just natural that it fed into everything else. When I sold my ad agency, I was studying food because I needed to understand food better to get well too. That was part of my program to change what I ate. And so I got my certifications in that and I traveled to farms throughout Latin and South America to kind of see what they were eating locally and, without all the modern foods and that was a real eye opener for me. And then next thing I can't work in my ad agency anymore, so I have to sell it. And I start painting and I start doing all these uh, manifesting things, working with the universe to co-create. And I haven't really looked back. But as an artist, that's co-creating with the universe, like you said, I have to be creating in one sphere for a while, and then all of a sudden I'm asked to go into another sphere, and I'm not I'm not really in control of that. It's more like the journey I need to go on, and the art has its purpose for me to create and me to share, and then has plenty of other purposes if anybody wants to purchase it, but I need to move on to the next thing. And I think that's kind of typical for a lot of artists. You see some that do the same thing their whole life and uh, but a lot of artists are not like that. They have to go through these phases and
Yeah, when your art becomes formulated, it's no longer art,
yeah,
right? Yeah. You know, um,
it's no longer creation.
it's no longer creation, it's no longer evolving. You're no longer evolving. At least it was so my experience. So let's not talk about you or other people. We'll talk about my experience. Um, you see me on the dragon. That is me on a dragon. 2 years ago, you would never see that picture, right? Even a year ago, you might not see that picture. And dragon energy has been in my life for 11 years,
Yeah.
right? But like you said, I've felt inhibited to talk about it. And so I just ignored the dragon. Um, this year, he reared his head in full force, and I have become the dragon, right?
Oh, that's
It,
awesome.
it really, he or she, and what's interesting is I talked with a dear friend who is a spiritualist today, and he said, "So what's your dragon's name?" I said, "When I asked, he told me that a name doesn't matter." And he didn't say anything. And sometimes my dragon's a she and sometimes it's a he, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so near the end of our conversation, he said, "I want to get back to that comment." He said, "It doesn't matter. Names don't matter when you get past the third dimension."
Yeah. There, because you recognize everything as a signature, an energetic signature, and uh,
Period.
yeah, capacity for love. And I, I find it kind of interesting, especially when like you talk about dragons, because some people that gravitate towards angels and dragons and things like that, they actually see the form. And I've always been the one that doesn't see the form. I just see the knowing or the energy of the being. And it's
Yeah.
interesting, though, that even so, I can distinguish a dragon from a whale, from a manta ray, from a angel. You know, I can distinguish that, but it's not because I see their actual form. It's more like the essence that they bring. It's very interesting, and I wonder why I can even distinguish them as not just seeing them as light beings. You know.
So for me, I'm experiencing them at a different frequency, at a different level, at a different dimension, maybe is the right word. Because in the third dimension, we want to see
Hmm.
with our eyes. Um, Beyond that, it is more of a knowing. I don't even want to say a feeling. It's more of a knowing, right? And I'm getting better at translation, which is my job, by the way.
Okay.
Here is translation, and not necessarily dragon language translation, but translating what it is that the universe wants from us,
Okay.
right? And actually, it's what we want from us because we are the universe. And I've been sugarcoating it using language that people can consume, and I'm getting, yeah, don't sugarcoat it anymore. You have to tell it like it is because what I'm doing is creating energetic programs. And that's what you're doing is you're creating energetic programs.
Well, in some cases, I am like this
Yeah.
painting here. I'm working with the infinity, and I've done a lot of work, 30, 40 paintings to unleash the full potential of infinity, not just as a mathematical symbol or an abstract symbol that gets thrown in when you don't understand something, but to actually unleash it as a almost like an angelic entity that can help you or can be used to transform. It's anyway, it's very interesting the work I do with the infinity, and then the work I do with these flowers over here. When they started saying you can see our consciousness, I mean, I'm just asked to photograph their consciousness and share it as an image because the flowers, it basically told me, beyond the flower essences and the smells and stuff like that, and other health properties of them. They are actually, every time they bloom a fresh consciousness that comes right out of the earth and right out of the sun
Yes.
and the universes around us. And that little piece is shifting the consciousness of the world. And the more we recognize that and look at that and even stare into it sometimes, the more we absorb it. And, you know, for those that are listening to your program, I'm sure they're going through this awakening that's happening pretty rapidly right now everywhere. And they're realizing that, you know, this consciousness shift is happening whether we like it or not. But a lot of people don't attribute it to the flowers. And the flowers are out there doing a lot of the work. And
It's Mother Earth.
it's so easy.
Yes. It's everything. So lately, and I mean very recently, I've started adding the other chakras to my meditations, including Gaia. Got
Hmm.
the Gaia chakra consciousness,
Oh, interesting.
right?
Ask
And
you.
I have her consciousness and the universe's consciousness come together
Wow.
because that's what we are.
We're all of it. It
Hmm.
comes up a lot for me when I'm working with the infinity symbol that um like the great divisions that we've always talked about, the male and the female, the creation and the form, all of that is um, fluid all the time. And that's why your dragon probably changes sexes all the time. So the infinity symbol not only, you know, it's sort of it's sort of like a mobile yin yang symbol, like the fluidity between um, creation and form. Like without form, there are certain things we can't do, like walk down a sidewalk, but without creation, there's nothing. There's no sidewalk, so it is in a constant state of flux in a very quantum physicsy sort of way, and the observation can change it, and the intention can change it, and all this stuff is fluid all the time, and even though the infinities are often drawn in a two-dimensional plane, they actually exist in the multi-dimensional plane that does no real definition of stop and start. And it's just been phenomenal to dive into all that and kind of.
It really is. So I'm writing a book about dragons, and the dragons in my book that show up come from the different dimensions, right? And the last dragon, um, although that dragon comes from the ninth dimension, takes the character in the book beyond that,
Okay.
right? And it is that leap beyond that that really is, how do you explain in this kind of language the experience of being nothing and everything?
Yeah. It's a little trippy for a human.
Well, in this dimension, it's like a pencil line trying to understand us walking down the sidewalk.
Hmm.
It's not going to. Um,
Right. Or does it need to even, It's like,
right,
you know,
right.
there's a certain amount of coexistence that has a certain level of acceptance versus trying to figure it out. And I think we all go through periods where we're like just taking things for granted, and then all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute.
That doesn't make
But
sense.
that needs to shift, because it no longer fits quite the way we thought it should fit. And our truths keep molding, our
Hmm.
understandings keep molding, and I don't know, it's fascinating to be in this end of it. And it's so freeing compared to, the more corporate world or the it reaches everywhere,
It
for me, it's
does.
like
It
a big
does.
part of my wellness as well.
So would I um, contact you and say, I would like you to create a piece for me, or do I see a piece that you've done that resonates with me, or is it both?
It could be either. It could
Yeah.
be either. Most people don't contact me to create a piece for them, but someone like you who might be a little more, well, you could certainly look at pieces and you could say, oh, there's one there, there's not one there, I need something created. It really just depends on the individual.
Hmm.
Um, I do a lot of work with angelic infinities, ushering in that sort of angelic qualities of potential.
Hmm.
And I don't think anybody knows what that is. So I'm kind of out there in this field, like people sort of know what a dragon is, and they sort of know what an infinity symbol is, and they sort of know what an angel is. But then when you start working with the angelic infinities, you kind of stepped out of something that anybody is willing to comprehend. And I'm just going to grab this real quick. I create, like you like to write books, and your books look very interesting to me. I haven't purchased one yet, but I will. Um,
Wait for my dragon book. You'll love it.
I will.
I love that.
So this is one of my paintings of infinity, and it comes with the poem "I'm immersed in calm waters," and the idea behind it is, just a feeling, that that it's a whole series of infinities. Here's another one, and
Oh,
it's just lots of infinities in space, and the poem there is, "I'm peacefully shifting collaborating time in space. Um, anyway, I've got like tons and tons of these, but I was going to show you my um, some of my angelic infinities is why I pulled this out. But I did a whole I am series. Um, like here's some here. There's the angelic infinities
Oh,
floating,
nice.
and then they come with different words like to contemplate a tree through your heart is to reveal all its divine essence. Or blue sky and yellow sun create energy we perceive as a tree. These were all about trees, the angels, the infinities, infinite potential of trees. It just goes on and on to me. It's like,
Oh, it's amazing. Years ago, I was in the redwoods. I got to visit the redwoods, and one of the trees there, this humongous, ancient tree with its arms spread wide, and all these other trees are growing off the limbs of this tree. Some are
oh,
growing down, some are growing up. That's how ancient it's and I when I saw that, I'm getting shivers just remembering it, right? Right? Like that is Mother Earth. That is creation.
right. It's Mother Earth and our sun, working.
Yes, yes, yes. It was
But,
just go
but
ahead.
that's an example of creation in perpetual motion, because
Yes.
even with a tree, eventually it will die, but the fact that every year they shed their needles or their leaves, they die and then they bring the tree back to life. And it's trees, plants, they're really amazing. I'm reading a book right now called, um, what's it called? Light Eaters. And it's about plants and the consciousness of plants. And it's one of the very first really, truly scientific crossing over to metaphysical understandings of the consciousness of plants.
Yes. I have a friend who she looks at consciousness through a metaphysical quantum perspective.
Mhm.
And she has a garden and she plants according to the energy of the moon,
Oh, yeah. It's
right? Yeah. So she plants it by the moon cycle and she walks the beach no matter what time of year every day, to just be with nature. And her story is incredible,
yeah.
incredible when she finally found her heart through quantum physics.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've been studying a lot of this stuff for years, and I just see the most amazing revelations all along the way. And even people that are totally relevated, revealed to have yet another layer that right behind that, if they're still up for the journey.
Oh my gosh. I was reminded today that the woman sitting on that dragon is not on a journey anymore. She's on a quest. And
He's a seeker.
what was interesting is that word, it's not interesting. This serendipitous stuff happens every day. The word quest came to me yesterday and today. Like use quest, use quest. And
Okay.
my spiritualist friend said, Gail, it's time to use quest, right? And I'm like, I know. He says, well, start listening. And he's
I
right.
know.
I'm being told what to do, right?
I know. It takes sometimes a couple knocks on the old noggin to get
Yep.
it to get it
Yep.
heard as if it needs to be heard. So I have a couple dragons, three dragons that help me out right now, and I'm kind of curious what you think about them. I have a rose-colored dragon and a white dragon and a wise dragon. And the wise dragon, I'm not exactly sure where he's from, but possibly like places that parts of me are from before I incarnated here. And he doesn't normally come to Earth. I say he loosely, not 100% sure. It's
I
a
know.
And the rose-colored dragon and the white dragon have been with me a long time. It's like little dragons to call on for maybe. Sorry, this thing is a
Oh
cat.
no, that's beautiful. That's fine.
He likes to be in on my podcast, so.
That's good.
Um, they've been with me for a while, and I feel like right now they're guarding me at night, because I'm going through a lot of personal family transitions, and um, and I seem to wake up, like tense, and so they're helping me not do that. And the wise dragon sometimes helps clear things for me and stuff. But I'm wondering if you have any insight in them that,
Well, the other two, not so much the wise dragon. I see that as the infinite.
yeah.
So yes, that right. As soon as you said that, I'm like, yeah, that's where her infinity
Hmm.
consciousness comes from. Um, but the other two dragons, I'm feeling coming. One from the seventh dimension, like the rose-colored one, and the white one definitely from the ninth dimension. Right. The seventh dimension is where we kind of create our blueprint. That's where we say, this is the stories that I'm going to bring with me. This is the life I'm going to lead. That's the journey I'm going to go on. Yeah, I know it stinks, but I can do it.
Uh-huh.
Right. The ninth dimension is really where it is a portal to beyond. The
Mm.
seventh dimension is also a portal, right? But it's where the Galactic Council is. It's where a lot of guidance can come from,
Okay.
right? And the white dragon is the most powerful of all
All three of
dragons.
them.
Yeah, yeah,
All right. I think it's the rose-colored one that'll sometimes comfort me while I'm sleeping, and the others are
right,
more guarding
right,
what comes into my dreams. And
right. The rose-colored one is probably saying, "You chose this, you'll be fine." You know, you're never alone. Um, one of the other conversations I had today was about um, my battle with ego over the spring summer, and at the end of that confrontation, I said, "Well, this is ridiculous. Ego, you're me. There is no separation. So let's dance together."
oh,
And
good.
that was that.
Yeah, I think the ego is gets a bad rap.
Yes, I think there is no separation.
Yeah. Back in the day when I was trying to figure out why my ego seemed to have a lot of control over my life, I would put it in a shoebox with some blankies. So I was nice to it, but I'm like, you stay in there, let me handle this with my other parts of me, because you're always trying to like take over. But in the end, it's best to integrate the ego in ways that make more holistic sense, because they're not really, it's true that they'll pop up to protect you. And if you spend all your time in a state of, protection, which a lot of people that are clairvoyant have in their past, because they're guarding their true selves.
Right, right.
And so
So
the
we don't get burnt at the stake. Right.
ego is given free rein to be our protector, and he's not really qualified to be the protector, or she or whatever, in all cases. It sometimes could be very helpful when you need to spring into action instantly.
Yeah, I've asked it to be my warning sign, and then we'll sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. And that's the, that when I think of dancing, I said I'm still the lead, but I've been a follower. In the type of dancing that I've done, the follower can suggest to the lead what to do next.
Yeah.
Because the follower can feel something that the lead doesn't. And that's what I'm looking for with ego. If you feel something I'll, I will dance that step with you too,
Hmm.
right? I just want us to work together and not be at odds anymore.
It's interesting you say that about dancing, because I picked up dancing, I don't know, maybe a decade ago now, and I at the time was using it as kind of a new social aspect of my life, but also a way to interact with people of the opposite sex. because I had had a couple business ventures go sideways for very how do you want to say this, patriarchal, ego-based decisions that were made. And I was kind of like, I could live without the other sex in my life forever. And I didn't really want to be like that. So I'm like, I'll go start social dancing. And the first thing I realized is that, you really do have to be led around by these people. And you don't have to, but it was kind of a good exercise for me to learn to trust people, to lead them around the floor and not let them take me places I didn't want to go. And it was really interesting and it worked, and it
It
was
is all about communication.
therapist.
It is all about communication. It's a definite lesson in, I was going to say ego, but it's not ego, control and trust. You
Yeah.
know, yeah. So I learned Argentine tango.
Oh, fabulous. You look like a tango dancer, by the
Oh,
way.
thank you. In order to follow, because in Argentine tango, the woman does nothing,
Ah,
nothing at all. It's 100, and it took me a long time, but when it worked, it was phenomenal. It
yeah.
was amazing. Um, but the dance that I did, and we'll go back to soon, is it's called West Coast Swing. And what I like about that is it's an interpretive dance. It's not swing, West Coast Swing, which is more bluesy, more jazzy, more suave, if you will. But it because it's a dance that can be interpreted, you can add like if there's a lead that knows tango, if they do a tango move, I can fall right into it,
Yeah.
right?
Nice.
Right? If it fits in with the dance. And it's a dance that if the leader is paying attention, they can feel my body shifting because I'm hearing something in the music they don't, and they can, and I'll give an example, then we can go back to your artwork. Um, I would go to the dances and I would leave between 9:15 and 9:30 because the energy in the room was something I didn't like anymore.
Hmm.
Right. So it was all about how I was feeling. And when I felt it, I grabbed my shoes, took them off, changed, and walked out the door. So it's getting ready to walk out the door. And by the way, I'm soaking wet because I dance every single song.
Hmm.
And this young gentleman said, "Hey, do you want to dance?" And he's amazing. So I'm like, sure, we'll do one more dance. As I'm soaking wet. He's like, yeah, me too. I'm like, okay. We were part of the music.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have no idea what we did. We were so in sync. And when we were done, he said, "What just happened?" And I said, "I don't know, but I don't smoke, but I could use a cigarette right now."
Sounds like a complete Kundalini experience
Oh
too.
my God, yes. And it was, and that's what happens when you're connected,
Yeah.
right, to the universe.
Yeah. And
Yes,
your heart is connected, and it's like
yes.
it's part of you instead of further away because you were being almost protected from your ego to say it's time to go. And then this little angel showed up and said, wait a minute, there's a little magic here in the fray. Or a lot of magic in the fray. That, that's a beautiful story. And I know with me, I took a 5-year hiatus from dance because of first COVID, then um, transition issues with my family. Um, when I got back to it, I started doing East Coast swing, which when they play it here in Washington, D.C., we have a fabulous dance hall called Glen Echo. And it's a big, big ballroom that's outside, no air conditioning, no heat. So the people who come out there are really brave.
They're diehards. Yeah, they're serious.
And I don't, it's just they play blues in there. They play all different, they mix some West Coast in there. They play all kinds of things. And I had been traveling back and forth a lot to visit my mom. So I've really been out again this year, even after I started back up. And I went last weekend and I just danced. I didn't care. And it was so much fun. And
So much fun.
I had a lot of fun. And then I was like, I'm tired now. I'm going to walk off unless someone else asks me to dance. And one person did, and so I danced another one. It wasn't an experience you had, but it was just so much fun. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care how well I
Yes.
could dance, nothing. I was just dancing, and half the partners I danced with, let go at a certain point, and you could, do your own thing. So maybe that's more what you're talking about with the West Coast style, where you were just ad-libbing, you know.
Um, yeah, it's still a lead and follow,
Okay.
so there's still structure to the dance,
Mhm.
right? Um, but it's what you can do within the structure of the dance. That's why it's so creative. There is structure, right? But you can do so much within that structure, and that's what you do with your artwork,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
There is so much in there. I'm looking at your infinity or your quantum thing in the back there. It's like, yes, look at that. I mean, there's
Yeah,
so much going on there.
it's really, it really is, and it's just the art. The art sends me, so it's transcendent when I do it. There's a couple pieces I did recently. I wish I could have them all in front of you, but this one, you can't really tell. This is a piece of it, but this one's all done with iridescent colors, and it takes on a whole life of its own, even as it's there, because everything's just constantly shifting in the light and shifting in the moment. And, people are like, "Well, can I buy that one?" I'm just like, "Not yet, not yet. It's not done with me."
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I totally get it. So my ex was um, a side job as an artist, and some of his works were incredible. And he finally ended up going to because he it's like I have no place to put them anymore. Um, Going to an art store, right, or an art shop, and started selling his artwork for quite a bit of money.
Oh,
Quite, yeah,
nice.
yeah, quite a bit of money. So,
Well, that would be my goal because along with dropping out of dance, I'd really dropped out of sales. I dropped out of everything. And I spent a lot of time in the metaphysical world and a lot of time creating and a lot of time with my family. And
yeah,
there's just a lot of family transitions. I'm, reaching the end with my mother right now. So it's just, I, I find that that is as much a teacher and a way to dive into your spirituality.
absolutely.
And the flowers have fit in nicely with that because I can take my camera and my macro lenses and everything I do is out and it's not none of it's in the studio. It's all out in nature. And so it's like I can go sit with the flowers for hours and create, who knows how many pictures. I might take 500, but I might end up with like three or four or five good ones. But I've transformed during that process of just concentrating on the consciousness of flowers and what's going.
In one of the chapters in the dragon book I'm writing, the Earth Dragon,
Uh-huh.
well, one of the dragons that is connected, there were a couple of them that bring the main character through Mother Nature at various spots. Explains the Fibonacci circle
Oh yeah.
and how all of the plants have that within them, and
Yeah.
that circle with the seeds makes it possible to collect the water, the moisture, and just the right amount of sun that the plant needs.
Yeah, it's interesting that a whole plant world is all fractal designs, which are
It's all
all
fractals. Yep.
in the Fibonacci spiral type of design. And so much of nature is, I mean, it's most pronounced in seashells, those little spiral seashells, but for the most part, you can find it everywhere in nature. And yes, the plants are just, I think, in addition to what he was saying, is that also creates vibration for the flower. It helps create the vibrational pattern of the flower, which is what's
Yeah.
radiating that. I think the flower,
Consciousness.
yeah. So the flowers are letting off a negative ion, and even like when a bee gets close, their wings are batting and making the positive ion, and the ions, the pollen just, yeah, just comes right to them, and the bees are attracted to the energy fields, not
Yes.
necessarily the color and the shape, but the actual energy fields attract the bees. And when it's got pollen, there's a different energy signal than when it's just blooming and unfolding. It's really fascinating to study this stuff. And it's so fascinating that science is actually able to observe a lot of it, observe a lot of it with their tiny instruments now. And I don't know, it's
Yeah, I have a friend who works for a company that develops lenses that can see what our eyes don't see,
oh, that's fabulous. I'd like a
right?
pair of those glasses.
Well, yeah, I'm going to be seeing him, I think not this weekend, but next weekend, um, for breakfast. He's the son of a friend of mine who has since passed,
Mm.
and he has really just grown phenomenally. But with that, saying as someone who's just come in the house, I'm going to close it down. If someone wanted to see your artwork or know more about you, Corinne, how would they do that?
They would just go to KarinEdgett.com, and all my links and all my art and all my different things I do. Like I even have a cookbook that it's about garlic, but it's supposed to help you open your channels, and heal physically. I have lots of books. I have lots of paintings. I have lots of photographs, and they can contact me and just say what else or do something special for me. And I have a blog there so they can read a bit about my philosophies. I don't post near as much as I want to, but um,
That's fine. That's beautiful. So all of this information will be in the show notes. Thank you, Karen. And everybody, thank you for joining us on the Empowering Process podcast. If you liked this episode, give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions, put them in the notes and we'll be happy to get back to you. If you know someone who could benefit from this amazing conversation, do share it out to them. And as always, remember to subscribe so that you know when the next episode is available. Thank you, Corinne.
thank you, Gail. I really appreciate your time.
This was awesome.
All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you for
Bye-bye,
listening
Brett.
to the Empowering Process podcast. Be sure to visit Gail at gailcraft.com to learn more about how she serves thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and goal seekers. And remember, if you like this broadcast, be sure to share and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.